Version 3 Starship incoming. What do we know about this new ship generation? Out with the old. SpaceX is wasting no time removing the original launch mount. Why are they chopping the chopsticks though? Massey's has been quietly refurbished and upgraded. Is it ready for the coming test campaigns? Reconsidering Artemis III? Is NASA booting SpaceX? Real candle rockets? Is paraffin fuel a good idea? Germany and South Korea think it is. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It? Let's dive right in. Starship updates. In episode 502, we gave a detailed overview of the new generation of boosters. What we didn't mention was that the version 3 ship is sitting at the door as well. Literally. Throughout the past few days, Ship 39's nose cone and payload bay, also known as the N3, were awaiting lift. Based on prior knowledge, we assumed it might have been waiting for its next barrel section, so it could be double lifted to the turntable. Wait, a double lift? A double lift involves SpaceX lifting one barrel with the bridge crane, attaching another barrel with ropes below it, and then lifting both barrels to a turntable to be welded together. It looks a bit like a string puppet. This process eliminates the need for a second crane and overall saves time. But we were wrong. The nose cone and payload bay were moved to the right side of the bay, ending our hopes and dreams. But if there's one thing I've learned in those 6 years of running Y, it is that SpaceX does love to surprise us. Just as we thought we would have to wait longer for the next barrel to roll out, there it was. Ship 39's forward dome was rolled out of the Star Factory and into Mega Bay 2. This is the barrel section that houses the forward dome, or the top of the liquid methane tank. We can furthermore see this dome from the SpaceX-provided internal views. Unfortunately, this barrel was bare in terms of hardware. Here you can see the entire contraption floating around in Mega Bay 2, and one thing should immediately stand out. Do you see those two port-like adapters just below the payload door? To explain those, we need to take a look at the future of SpaceX's Starship. Artemis and Mars missions will require a component that hasn't been performed by SpaceX yet: orbital refueling. The only reason why a Starship is able to lift and move so much weight is because it can also carry an enormous amount of fuel. The more payload you want to move around, the more fuel you need as well. On a Starship launch flying to low Earth orbit, the fuel is used to deliver the payload. It consumes almost 5,000 tons of fuel going up. To be precise, the existing version 2 of Starships uses 4,750 tons of fuel to reach low Earth orbit. Version 3 will extend this past the 5,000-ton mark to a mind-boggling 5,250 tons of fuel, of which 1,600 tons are inside the upper stage Starship. Version 4, according to SpaceX, is supposed to bring this up to 6,350 tons in total. And still, once in low Earth orbit, this fuel is gone, besides some landing reserves. So SpaceX needs to add an extra step to get the ship beyond our front porch. Enter orbital refueling. It will be needed for anything past low to medium Earth orbit. Currently, the most pressing target would be the Moon. SpaceX has contracts with NASA and deadlines too. The likeliest approach will be a fuel depot Starship in orbit, a tanker Starship optimized for fuel transport, fueling the depot, and then HLS docking with that depot to get that extra juice to transfer 100 tons of payload to the Moon. And that's exactly what we're seeing on the V3 Starship here. Those docking studs here are very likely also going to be on the aft section of the ship. And they have two purposes: dock two Starship hulls securely together and transfer fuel through them from one ship to another in space. They will enable SpaceX to start testing just that, in-orbit fuel transfer. This arguably is the most important milestone for 2026 on SpaceX's road to the Moon and Mars, and it is great to see the new hardware out in the wild for the first time. And Starship needs lots of fuel. I mean, really a huge amount of it. The equivalent of 230 tanker trucks. This will require at least 8 to 10 refueling flights to fill the tanks of a Starship to the brim, and that does not take fuel bleed into account. Cryogenic fuels tend to want to evaporate in space. It's a bit counterintuitive. After all, space is very cold, right? Yes, but not in the sunlight. Surfaces exposed to direct sunlight in LEO can reach temperatures of 120 degrees Celsius or higher, depending on the material's properties and the spacecraft's orientation. The sun's radiation in space delivers about 1350 to 1400 watts per square meter, causing rapid heating of surfaces that absorb solar energy. There are ways to mitigate fuel bleed in space, like using insulation or reflecting sunlight, but it will undoubtedly be an added difficulty. So now you know what those two bumps are for. As said on X though, our detailed version 3 ship analysis will take some more time. There are still too many question marks for us to draw a final conclusion. We are working on it, stay tuned. Remember how we talked about SpaceX taking down Pad 1 for a new pad? Well, work had started before Flight 11 ever launched. Wait, before? That's right, prior to Flight 11, SpaceX had already been preparing the chopsticks for their cutting while no one was looking. Cutting? Yep, let's look at two flyovers and see if you can tell what they did. These images are just 11 days apart. Can you see the difference? Got an idea? Did you guess that mounts were installed? Here, 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 and here. 8 mounts were installed atop the chopsticks on the orbital launch integration tower at Pad 1. But why? Great question. Over the past year, SpaceX has been engineering and building a full-fledged pad with a flame trench, brand new compared to the now old shower head. The reason for doing so is to achieve a much faster flight cadence. With the current pad, the entirety of the OLM and pad deck gets roasted during every launch. This will of course not change, but it will be decreased and maintenance will be made much faster too. Not only is the flame trench water-cooled, but so is the new orbital launch mount deck. This assures that everything that can be protected is protected. At least a bit. That plume is not a joke. The Artemis II launch is coming closer. No human has ventured this far away from the Earth since Apollo 17. When NASA announced that the mission might be launching earlier than expected, over 140 headlines from different media outlets expressed opposing opinions. One left-leaning headline skeptically asked, "First lunar cruise since Apollo could launch in 4 months? Seriously?" Another right-leaning outlet is very positive. Save the date, humans set to return to the moon on February 5th, 2026, with Artemis II 50 years after Apollo mission. I easily access all these opinions at ground.news/y. Follow along to get the full story. There is no better platform for this than Ground News. My partners built the only app and website that shows how the world's media cover the same event. Ground News is a smarter, better version of how you're already staying informed. Ad-free, subscriber-funded, and built for information discussion. And I've arranged 40% off their unlimited Vantage plan, just $5 a month at ground.news/y or by scanning this QR code. Anyway, after that quick deviation, we arrive at the chopsticks. Why are they so short? Another great question. The new chopsticks are indeed much shorter, and that's not just because they left some pieces out. The main reason for these chopsticks being shorter is that they don't need the full length. I know, wouldn't you want as much wiggle room for a Starship or booster coming straight from orbit as possible? Yes and no. Over the years, SpaceX has mastered the art of precision landing with Falcon 9. That is, with landing legs. Newsflash, Starship doesn't have those anymore. To account for this, SpaceX engineered catch pins. On version 2 boosters, these catch pins were also used as lifting pins, but the story is a little bit different for the ship. Before version 3 ships, they were lifted with a lifting socket. This socket correlates to a pin on the chopsticks that would slot in to lift the ship. Version 3 ships and boosters are different. In both of these new generations, the process has changed. On the boosters, the catch and lift pin is now integrated into the grid fins, while on ship, the lifting socket was deleted, and ship will now also lift with the catch pins. The best part is no part. Anyways, relating this to the chopsticks, the vehicles are caught with the sticks, and with 3 catches under their belt, SpaceX is confident in their abilities to make the runway, or chopsticks. Going with smaller chopsticks now offers them quicker motion and less bouncing. You do not want to bounce off of the catch pin location. These 8 mounts we now see on the chopsticks are so that SpaceX can remove the extra segments and not have to build completely new sticks. Reuse what you can. We can also draw another conclusion from this. What's the primary criterion for reusing something? It needs to be in excellent condition. After countless lifting, launching, and even 3 catch operations, these sticks seem to be in great shape. Otherwise, SpaceX likely wouldn't have chosen to modify and reuse them. After getting rudely interrupted by Flight 11, SpaceX could finally start on the demolition of Pad 1. And they chose to start with concrete work. Not the pad's concrete, the tank farm's concrete. This concrete berm separates the entire tank farm from the extreme activities that occur atop the OLM. It is there to divert any foreign object debris away from the tank farm that may be flung towards it during a test or launch. That is, when the Raptors are firing at a ground-level deluge plate. In the new pad design with the flame trench, debris being shot around the ground level is drastically reduced. So no need for the concrete berm anymore. Frankly, it being there is one of the biggest giveaways that the first OLM just wasn't a good design at all. During this demolition process, we expect that other parts of the tank farm will also be relocated. Flame trench or not, you don't want to be anywhere near the exhaust plume exits. Before we move on to take a look at Massey's, hit the subscribe button to stay informed. Like this video if it brought you value and become a wise supporter for extra content. Up to 7 picture galleries per week, satellite, helicopter and ground photos and 3D animations. Chat with me and gain more insights on the topic you love. Thank you very much. So what has happened at Massey's since we last looked? Following Ship 36's destruction in June, Massey's was looking a little rough. A little bit meaning it needed an entire new liquid methane tank farm. In an RGV flyover a month after the explosion, it was clear that the SpaceX teams were completely taking down the rather burned methane tank farm. In a Y flyover a month later, SpaceX had clearly gone with the approach of make it better. The horizontal tank that had been sitting in the back of Massey's for quite some time had been moved to the methane tank farm location. It was also apparent that SpaceX would be tearing out and redoing all of the pipes as expected. Though the tank farm was not the only damaged thing, the gantry that supported the ship's quick disconnect was no longer vertical. This now meant that SpaceX would not only have to build a new methane tank farm, but also a brand new gantry to support the ship quick disconnect gantry. Great! To rebuild, you must first take down. After that process was complete, SpaceX poured the initial concrete foundations where new tanks and hardware would sit. They also cleared the underground trench where the pipes were laid previously. This brings us to the current month of October. And this is what it looks like right now. It's fairly finished, but not done yet. The LOX pumps are still missing. Everything for them is already prepared though. Overall, the new LOX farm is almost done. It's very sturdy, and the latest addition are these metal frames on top to make it even more resilient. It's a GSE bunker meant to hold more delicate equipment. After all, it is sitting right next to the static fire mount, and we've seen what Ship 36 could do to the site. Lastly, we have the static fire mount itself. It's supposed to static fire V3 starships next. Ship 39, which we've talked about earlier, will be the first to go on it after the upgrades are done. The gantry still needs some work, but we're talking small things here. All in all, we can say with confidence that Massey won't be the holdup for a possible Flight 12 as soon as the new year comes. Until then, we have the assembly of both Booster 18 and Ship 39 to look forward to in early December. We have the first tests on Pad 2 coming up soon after. And once all is tested and ready, Flight 12 will take place very likely in January. Starbase is staying exciting. Quick reminder, if you want to see how SpaceX is doing from the air with your own eyes, go to redlineheli.com/Felix, $25 off for anyone using the link. The Redline helicopter team is waiting for you. They'll show you the same Starbase views our photographer gets on his Starbase flights. It's unforgettable stuff. Now let's head over to Artemis, NASA, and the Moon. While Artemis 2 seemingly is on track for its early 2026 mission around the Moon, the big question remains: what will Artemis 3 really be like? So far, NASA has stuck to the original plan. In short, an Orion spacecraft launched by NASA's Space Launch System transports the astronauts into a lunar orbit. Here, the astronauts change vehicles and are then transported from the lunar orbit to the lunar surface in the SpaceX Human Landing System, or HLS. A specialized starship designed to land on the Moon. Recently though, NASA has openly expressed a loss of confidence in SpaceX's HLS. The agency doubts that SpaceX can design, build, and most importantly test and verify the lander. Now, acting NASA Administrator Sean Duffy has made a very interesting public statement expressing that, after all, there might not be a SpaceX lander involved in Artemis 3. What? Duffy is now officially talking about a new space race with China. He said that while he loves SpaceX, he doubts that it can deliver on time. What? Emphasizing the importance of a space race victory for the US, his call goes out to competitors like Blue Origin. While SpaceX has the contract for Artemis III, NASA wants to encourage other manufacturers to present a working human lander for the 2028 mission. He's opening the contract again. In short, according to Duffy, whoever makes it on time will get the gig. Elon Musk reacted in SpaceX's defense. He does not believe that a competitor will be able to deliver a human lunar lander before SpaceX does. In his words, they won't. SpaceX is moving like lightning compared to the rest of the space industry. Moreover, Starship will end up doing the whole moon mission, mark my words. Alright, marked. Now this sounds like a serious challenge to all who are working on their own technology for a lunar human future. And it fits in neatly with what I have said before on that ill-fated Flight 11 livestream. What's way more important about Starship HLS than the Artemis III date is the added ability. Starship brings more than a temporary return to the moon. It follows NASA's original plan to stay sustainably. Wasn't that the plan? For me and many others in the spaceflight scene, Starship HLS is about more than a scoop of dirt and a picture with a flag. It remains to be seen how things will play out in the future. Right now, it feels like there is much more politics involved in Duffy's recent statement than a good understanding of the technical challenges at hand. Though, competition is great. SpaceX keeps its small funding for Artemis III, and others will hopefully have to work with the same if NASA even gets more funding allocated. Let's now move on to Asia with some interesting news about a new player in the space game. When it comes to spaceflight, South Korea may not be the first that comes to mind, but that might be about to change. South Korean space startup InnoSpace has secured the country's first commercial launch authorization from the Korea Aerospace Administration, also known as KASA, clearing the path for its inaugural orbital mission as early as late October. The company has set a launch window between October 28th and November 28th for its hand-built nano rocket from Brazil's Alcantara Space Center. The mission, dubbed the Space Ward, represents more than a simple test flight. InnoSpace is showing great confidence in their rocket design by carrying client payloads on this first launch. Hand-built Nano will carry 8 payloads to low Earth orbit at an altitude of 300 kilometers, including 5 small satellites from Brazilian and Indian clients, along with experimental devices and a promotional item from South Korean beverage company Brew Guru. Yeah, they are really planning to put a beer can into space, albeit an empty one. Empty? That makes no sense. Let's have a closer look at this new rocket. Hand-built Nano is a 2-stage launch vehicle equipped with a 25-ton thrust hybrid rocket engine in the first stage and a choice of 2 different engines in the second stage. 2 different engines. The 21.8-meter rocket can place up to 90 kilograms into sun-synchronous orbit. Hand-built Nano Hyper uses an unconventional hybrid propellant combination of liquid oxygen and paraffin in both stages. According to InnoSpace, this approach offers cost and safety advantages over traditional systems. Paraffin? It was never more true to say let's light that candle. Alternatively, the hand-built Nano Limer variant uses a more conventional choice of liquid methane and oxygen as its propellant. InnoSpace demonstrated its technology in March 2023 with the successful suborbital launch of the tech demonstrator hand-built TLV from the same Brazilian facility. A second-stage qualification test in July 2025 and a first-stage qualification test in September 2025 marked the final technical verifications before the upcoming commercial launch. The inaugural launch represents South Korea's entry into the competitive small satellite launch market. But InnoSpace won't stop there. The company is planning larger variants capable of carrying up to 1,300 kilograms in future missions. German space startup High Impulse Technologies has raised $53 million in a funding round announced on October 16th. Founded in 2018, the company employs around 65 people across 3 locations, developing what it calls a flexible taxi service for satellite launches to complement SpaceX's scheduled bus service model. Alright, and they also go literal on lighting that candle. Just like InnoSpace, High Impulse's hybrid rocket propulsion system is using paraffin wax and liquid oxygen. Are they serious? Sorry, I had to. The German company has already proven the feasibility of its technology by demonstrating it in the SR-75 suborbital rocket during a May 2024 test flight from Australia's Coolibah test range. Since paraffin-based fuel is non-explosive, it allows rockets to remain fully fueled during transport, dramatically simplifying logistics. And the advantages for orbital candles don't stop there either. According to High Impulse, this innovation reduces the number of components by approximately 50% compared to conventional rockets, cutting construction costs by 40% and satellite transportation expenses by 50%. That's a lot of percent. It plans to make its first commercial SR-75 flight with paying customers in 2026. Next year will be space fan heaven. Let's light these candles. The single-stage SR-75 stands 11.5 meters tall and can carry payloads of up to 250 kilograms to altitudes around 250 kilometers. Its Hyplox 75 engine produces more than 7.5 tons of thrust with a 30-second burn duration. Building on SR-75's success, the company is developing the three-stage SL-1 orbital rocket designed to transport up to 600 kilograms into low Earth orbit. Standing 32 meters tall and weighing 50 tons, the SL-1 is projected to launch no earlier than 2027. Over in China, a reusable launch vehicle is about to make headlines. Let's have a look at what we can expect, saving the best for last. Chinese launch startup Landspace has entered final preparations for the inaugural flight of its Zhushui 3 rocket. This is the mission that could mark China's first attempt to recover an orbital booster. A decade after SpaceX pioneered the achievement with Falcon 9, they are still the only company to master this. Landspace announced that it completed the first phase of its launch campaign at the Dongfeng Commercial Space Innovation Test Zone at the Zhushuang Satellite Launch Center in northwest China. The vehicle will undergo a vertical integration rehearsal before returning to the integration zone for final inspection and maintenance ahead of its launch attempt. The two-stage stainless steel Zhushui 3 is a 66-meter tall rocket with a 4.5-meter diameter. 9 reusable Tianhe 12A methane liquid oxygen engines in the first stage are needed to move the rocket with a takeoff weight of about 570 tons. Landspace successfully demonstrated vertical takeoff and landing capabilities in September 2024 with a 10-kilometer hop test, narrowly beating competitor Deep Blue Aerospace to achieve this milestone. And even before that, in July 2023, Landspace made history when Zhushui 2 became the world's first methane-fueled rocket to reach orbit, beating SpaceX's Starship and other competitors. The 49.5-meter rocket has since completed multiple successful missions, though an August 2025 failure of the upgraded Zhushui 2E ended a 4-flight success streak. We can all tell that this rocket copies large parts from SpaceX and Blue Origin. The lengths, the chines along the fuselage, the engine configuration. Nonetheless, if Landspace manages to land the rocket's first stage successfully, it would provide a significant advantage for the Chinese satellite launch market. We'll keep a close watch. And that's it for today. Smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Our brand new Mechazilla shirt and our Raptor emblem design are both up. Link is in the description and in the card you should see now. And if you want to learn more about what SpaceX's Starship goals are for 2026, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Oh, let me do my thing again. Okay, here we go. A human lumen